The man has just cleared that game using World Ver 2.0's Magic Marksman, which he thinks it's pretty fun. Now he wants to take a step further in the updated World version 3.0 with the Mage. However, it's boring to create a normal mage character. He wants to make it special and create the ultimate mage. The man started toggling with the new world's karma system and filling in all types of debuffs. Because for every debuff he adds, he can gain an additional benefit. Insomnia, mana addiction, chronic headache, life-draining talent. Due to having too many debuffs, the character he created became extremely weak and frail. The man didn't pay much attention to it, it's just a game character after all. But the next moment, a powerful force of attraction sucked him in, causing him to lose consciousness on the spot. Lennox. When he woke up again, he was completely dumbfounded before he can understand what had happened. He was grabbed by a big bearded man and struck with an angry punch. It was then that he realized he had entered the game and become the character he had created. Judging by the situation in front of him, the big bearded man should be in charge of this place. With his order, everyone hurried to the assembly room for work. Lennox was annoyed. He had created this character to enjoy the game, but he never expected to be trapped in this weak and frail body. In the next 3 days, Lennox surprisingly got used to the daily routine work in the factory quickly. He works from dawn until dusk and was rewarded with a bowl of rice porridge before bed, even though it looked more like trash than food. He tries to communicate with the others, but they ignore him. To them, he is no different from a dead man. That's not surprising given his frail and weak body that might not last much longer. He cannot even take a break or the factory manager will come and discipline him. It's only thanks to his already weak body that he hasn't been beaten more severely. Lennox feels fortunate that he is able to maintain his sanity in such an extreme environment. Perhaps it's due to the strong willpower he added to his character. Despite the various painful symptoms he's experiencing, it also means that he possesses the same magical talents. As long as he can unlock and utilize this talent, he will be able to escape from this place. In order to escape from this place, Lennox knows he must first familiarize himself with the general layout of the area. It's convenient for him that no one pays attention to him as a sickly person. He notices another door behind and quietly sneaks over to investigate. Behind the door, Lennox overhears a conversation between two people. They mention that a black mage will be coming to the factory to collect something in a couple of days. Black Mage, this information confirms that magic exists in this world. But how can he unlock his magical talent? Just then, one of the men in the conversation takes out a tube of potion, which he calls the new Viper. It's a body enhancer that has a new filter that contains mana. Lennox realizes that the tube contains something he desires most. He stares at the small bead and suddenly feels something calling out to him. He senses that his body is responding to it, and in the next moment, something strange happens. A shock ran through him as if something had exploded in his body, and a new presence that surpasses any feeling emerged, the sixth sense, or rather a third eye. At that moment, he saw another version of himself, his alter ego. It's then that he realizes that magic has been flowing in this world all along, and within his body, but he only just now feels its existence. In an instant, he can control the familiar yet unfamiliar power of the light, the world's magic. At night, everyone else is asleep but Lennox is restless. Now that his magical talent has been unlocked, he may be able to use this magic to escape. He recalls the conversation he overheard earlier, which revealed that 2 days later during the exchange would be the best opportunity for him to escape. However, he needs to figure out how to avoid the factory manager's attention. That's it, Lennox remembers, by applying light on the surface of his skin. It would make him look like he's burning up with a fever to others. On the other side, Van is delivering the Vipers to the factor manager. He praises Van for his diligent work and rewards him with a bottle of Viper with a catch, to find an opportunity to get rid of Lennox, as his appearance might cause unnecessary trouble if seen by the Union. Van had no choice but to agree. On the day of the exchange, everyone saw that Lennox is lying motionless on the bed. Listening to people around discussing him, Lennox thinks that his plan has worked since nobody is willing to take care of him, let alone stay by his side. At this moment, however, Van appeared. The people around were discussing, it seemed that Van was here to send him off cleanly. Otherwise, if this sickly guy lay here, what if he infected others? Lennox is worried, this didn't seem right. What did it mean to send him off cleanly? This situation wasn't part of his plan. He could only prepare himself to counterattack at any moment now. Van grabbed Lennox, but the situation didn't go as expected. Van actually took out the Viper potion rewarded by the factory manager and gave it to Lennox, hoping that he could drink this potent to get better. After everyone left, Lennox tried the potion. He is surprised by the potency of the potion. As a sickly person, he doesn't feel any weakness in his body at all. He also ponders over Van. But anyway, with this now his escape plan has changed. Meanwhile, in the basement of the factory loading dock, the union members were accusing the workers of not doing their job properly. While others were loading the goods, Lennox lied to the administrator, pretending that he was tasked with delivering the Viper potions to the office of the factory manager. With the factory manager's order as a pretext, the administrator reluctantly took out the key and signaled Lennox to follow him. As soon as the door was opened, Lennox had already loaded his mana. He unleashed a lightning strike that hit the administrator directly. The administrator was immediately knocked out and fell to the ground, foaming at the mouth. Lennox picked up the key, which seemed to be the car key. Now he had to quickly search the room for useful items. After a while, he not only found a gun and a new coat but also got hold of some Viper potions. Just as Lennox proceeded to absorb the potion, there was some noise outside the door. It turned out that someone had smelled the medicine and wanted to investigate. It was the factory manager who returned unexpectedly. At first, he thought someone was resting inside, but when he opened the door, he was shocked to see the administrator lying on the ground. Lennox seized the opportunity to take action, but the situation was dire. His sneak attack failed as the manager managed to dodge it. To make matters worse, his own magic was not enough, and he was unable to unleash another bolt. The manager realized the man's identity. Just as he was about to launch a counterattack, Lennox pulled out a gun and pointed at him. In order to save his own life, he promised Lennox to keep the incident a secret. Lennox knew that the factory owner was talking nonsense, and he could not believe him. Just then, someone knocked on the door, making the already tense situation even more intense. The factory owner pointed to a door and said that it led to the parking, and if he left quietly, he would not tell anyone. Not long after, the person outside finally came in, but his expression was full of disbelief. Lennox has already driven towards the exit. The administrator here was still thinking that it is the car of the manager. However, when the car window opens, he finds out that it is Renault holding a gun to his head. He cooperates very obediently and opens the gate to let Lennox through, just hoping that Lennox can spare his life. Suddenly, the walkie-talkie rang out, and a hoarse voice came from the other end. He demanded that all exits be sealed off. Trembling, the administrator shut it off, pretending that the walkie-talkie was broken and that they hadn't heard or seen anything, hoping Lennox would let him go. However, Lennox believed in another philosophy: if I let you go, you will become a problem. Either don't do it, or do it to the end. His high mental strength, his level-headedness, and his rationality suppressed his feelings of guilt and fear, which allows him to maintain his sanity. As Lennox passed through the last gate, he successfully escaped from the factory. We can foresee this calmness will only provide him with more powerful help during his escape journey. The new city will be a fresh start for him. Here is the Valkan city, where the background was completely different from the previous world version 2.0. Everything here is unique to Lennox and everything has a little mana mixed into it, indicating that magic had made a great contribution to the civilization of this world. This weak body is really much trouble. Lennox couldn't help but turn towards the Viper potions, wanting to grab one, but after thinking twice he decided to not use them. He only got a few and should only keep them for emergencies. He decided to find a place to rest for a while first. At a hotel, Lennox had threw the car away to prevent the people from investigating here. He can no longer hold himself, he can't even walk to the bed and just faint on the ground. He had a long and restful sleep until the next morning. Woke up from thirst of his throat, Lennox went to the fridge, grabbed a mysterious drink that he didn't recognize, and drank from it. Just then, his body started having problems again. He rushed over to the sink and started vomiting. The body that was already weak now feels like it's collapsing. His heart is beating hard and his head hurts like it's about to explode. All the muscles in his body are in pain as if they're being torn apart. Lennox understands that it's probably the side effect brought by the viper. But if he wants his body to function normally, he can only rely on it. It's truly a torment. While he eating the nasty canned food to fill his stomach, the front desk called informing him if he wanted to continue staying, he would need to pay for another night. This makes matters even worse, even heroes can be stumped by poverty. The money Lennox had on him wasn't enough to pay for another day's fee. It seems he'll need to find a way to earn some extra money. Then he realized his hair is a bit of a hassle, so he decided to tidy it up before going out. Since he was going to trim it anyway, he naturally couldn't just tidy it up simply. So he trimmed his hair to a point where others would find it difficult to recognize him. By the way, I prefer the earlier look, such a pity. Now Lennox has encountered a new problem. He doesn't have any identification in this world, but he can't bring himself to do anything illegal to earn money. Hey, what about beating up criminals and taking their money? This way there won't be many repercussions, right? With that in mind, he immediately began searching for prey. As long as he focused his mana on his ears, he could hear people's conversations around him. Soon, he found his prey in the alley over there. But as soon as he stood up, he became dizzy again. This won't do. He can't afford to be stringy now. So he took out the viper potion and drank it. With one gulp, he was fully healed and ready to go earn some money.